Somebody went to a lot of trouble getting her there. There's no road access. Probably used a boat.
What, don't?
Could have done that closer. Suspect wanted her out there alive where they wouldn't be disturbed. He shot her 4 times, 2 in the legs, 2 in the chest like she was running. Then he redressed her, wrapped a bandage around her head. Shell cases at 223.
So what are we looking at?
Picked her up from a bar, over an hour drive to a boat. All the time they're neither seen nor missed. He's nocturnal, methodical. Probably works nights. His job gives him time, like a shift worker.
Okay, retro go. Let's go.
Hello and welcome. Welcome and hello. This is Wait, You Haven't Seen? It's a show where we talk about movies and specifically talk about a movie at least one of us has never seen before. I'm your host, Travis, aka TV's Travis. This is episode number 333, and it is also the 4th week of 2025's Cage-A-Palooza. That's right, we're celebrating Nick Cage all month, and with me to talk about 2013's The Frozen Ground, it's Jay Funktastic. Jason, how you doing?
Greetings, programs. I'm so happy to be back on the show to talk about this movie that subverted any expectation I had going into it, because I'll be honest, I had never even heard of this movie till you told me about it, Travis, because I'm excited to be here for Cage-A-Palooza. I've never been on a Cage-A-Palooza episode before, but yeah, this is a Nick Cage movie that completely went past my radar until you brought it to my attention.
And honestly, it had gone past my radar until I was just looking at ideas for this year's run of movies, and I tossed some names out to you, and you said The Frozen Ground sounds interesting, and it's got John Cusack in it, and I was like, I'm down. Let's check it out. And this is from that era of Nick Cage doing a whole lot. That 2010s era of Nick Cage is just a grab bag of varying quality of film, but with Nick Cage there's always a great performance. Like, you're just going to get all of Nick Cage in it.
Well, that's what I was wondering what we were going to get going into the movie, and one of my first notes that I wrote was, ooh, it looks like we've got a quote unquote subtle Cage movie this time.
Yeah, and I had no idea what to expect, and then you watched it and you sent me a message. You're like, I just finished watching the movie, and holy crap, I was not ready for what that was. So now I'm like, all right, what am I getting into? What is this? And I start watching it, and I had the same thought. I'm like, oh, we're getting a reserved Nick Cage here. Okay, all right.
But here's the crazy thing. You know, you go into this movie, you're like, oh, it's John Cusack and Nick Cage, and you can kind of read the synopsis, and you're like, oh, so Nick Cage is going to be the antagonist, and John Cusack is going to be the detective, and we're going to kind of get Crazy Cage, you know, being a psychotic killer, which would have worked, which is crazy because this is one of those weird movies where you could have taken the top 2 actors and flipped their roles, and you would have gotten just as good, if not a better movie by doing that.
Yeah. Okay. So first, I'm going to read the plot synopsis, just a quick 2-sentence thing on IMDb of what this movie is about, and then I have something for that. So an Alaska state trooper partners with a young woman who escaped the clutches of a serial killer, Robert Hansen, to bring the murderer to justice, based on actual events. So you say flipping the 2 of them, which is funny because Cage initially, I think, was offered the role of Bob Hansen and didn't want that. He wanted to play the cop because he felt like that would be the one that would give him more of a stretch in his acting to do. Yeah. And Cusack supposedly, again, this is all internet trivia, so take it with a grain of salt, but Cusack supposedly took this role during a stretch where he was trying to break away from doing a lot of rom-coms. And wanted to do something different, and so he went for the role of Bob Hansen. So I agree, you could flip the 2 of them and you'd get a similar but different movie. But I liked, as it went on, I really liked what both of them were doing in their roles. And I do want to touch on the based on actual events part of it at some point as well, but I got to start with Cage because I say this all the time. Nick Cage always brings it. He always puts himself into a role, whether it is, and he's making choices. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's a hairpiece that he should have not gone with, and other times it's like it just the choices that he makes. He always goes for it. The Wicker Man being a great example of really going for it and making some choices, and they just didn't land.
Yeah.
But this, I felt like he really brought this kind of sense of almost paternal instinct to the role
Yeah.
in a way that I really liked. I really liked his performance throughout it because it felt authentic. He felt like a dad trying
Yeah.
and a cop that was really trying to make a difference.
Well, that's another thing I was going to point out. I think him and the girl who played the character Cindy Paulson, the girl who escaped the murderer.
Yep.
It's Vanessa Hudgens, and they had really good chemistry.
Yes.
And as you know, the kind of that father-daughter dynamic, and you know, it's especially the scene where he brings her home and the
Mhm.
wife is just kind of not having it. But
Yeah.
in you're as a viewer, you're like, but this poor girl is like why can't he just look at his wife and say, look, this girl is going to help me put away a murderer? And you're just like, come on, man. But he's like trying, you know, it's just there's so much going on in this movie, and I really, really liked it.
Yeah. Vanessa Hudgens, this was her in, I think the year after she made Spring Breakers. So this was her kind of breaking out of the, I want to say Nickelodeon teen acting, I think is what she had
Yeah.
been on. I don't think it was, I can't remember if it was Nickelodeon or Disney, but it was one of those two. And she was kind of breaking out of that sort of child actor, teen actor mold, and stretching out. So it's kind of one of those major course corrections where they take, they do real dark roles. Like Spring Breakers is not a movie you expect at all.
Yeah.
I think I want to
Well,
say it was written by Harmony Korine, but I could be wrong on that. It might be somebody
yeah.
else that's in that mold. But like, this is that same type of thing where this is a dark character and a dark story. And
Yeah.
as good
I
as
was gonna
Nicolas
say
Cage is,
going into this movie, I was not prepared for the dark that this
yeah,
movie was about,
yeah,
and it's heavy. This is a heavy movie, so this is a movie you have to be in a certain mood for.
yes. All right. So I think before we go too much into the cast further, I do want to say at this point, this movie is based on actual events. An actual serial killer in Alaska caught in the early 80s by the name of Bob Hansen, who was caught. They did find, what did they say? It was 17 bodies that he supposedly killed. There were potentially many more, up to 30. They think, but
Yeah, I
they
think
didn't find a lot of them.
yeah.
And
So basically, around 47 known or suspected
yeah,
victims.
a lot of disappearances, and then they would find a body later on. And then when they finally caught him, they were able to. He took them to a bunch of places, but he passed. He died in 2014. It was after this movie came out that the actual Bob Hansen died while in custody, because he was sentenced to like 400 and something years in prison and no chance of parole.
Jeez.
Um,
Yeah, it was a long time he was convicted for.
and also Cindy Paulson, the character played by Vanessa Hudgens, she did speak with writer director Scott Walker before, during the pre-production of this movie, and supposedly this was a thing that I kind of got annoyed by. Was there was trivia that said that this was the only time that Cindy Paulson ever gave an interview about her story, told her story, was
Yeah.
for this movie. But then I saw another one that said, oh, but she was also on several true crime podcasts. I couldn't corroborate whether or not that was true, to know, but she supposedly did meet with Scott Walker and spent like dozens of hours with him talking about the case and even coming on to the set. And they also had the state trooper that Nicolas Cage's character Jack Holcomb is based on, was also a consultant on the movie to try and make sure that like case details were correct. So it sounds like they did try to at least adhere to what did happen,
Yeah.
and not overly embellish. In fact, according to the trivia, Cindy, some of the things that Cindy told them about are the things that people found the most unbelievable about the movie, were things that she told them actually happened. So, but it's very dark. But Robert Hansen, apparently he abducted these women, tortured them, and then took them out into the wilderness and killed them. It was bad. It was bad, bad, bad stuff. So I agree. You got to be in the right mindset to watch something like this. If you're a true crime person, you're probably going to enjoy this because it is very much in that
Yeah.
vein, but it's dark. I got feelings of, and it didn't go quite as hard, but I feel like movies like 7 and 8 millimeter were influences on this,
I feel like
stylistically.
also, I'm glad you said that because I feel like, oh shoot, what was the name of that movie with Al Pacino? It was a
Oh,
Christopher Nolan
Insomnia.
film, Insomnia.
Yes.
This movie had a lot of Insomnia
Mm-hmm.
vibes as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, it absolutely did. I think Alaska setting helps that too.
Yeah. And another thing it said, I didn't know this too. I was looking up the trivia. It says when he's looking through the photos, like the missing girl
yeah.
files, and the ones on the wall at the police station, with the exception of Vanessa's character, are those of the real life victims. They're like show this shot where there's like a ton of missing
Mhm.
women, and those are all his victims. That's insane.
Yeah, and they showed a bunch of those also right before the end credits roll.
Yeah.
And yeah, I thought that was an interesting touch. This feels like very much like a passion project for Scott Walker, because I looked him up because I was curious, because I feel like the direction of this movie was really good. I felt like he worked with a great cinematographer and it was shot really well. I mean, they put some money into this
Yeah.
location shooting in Alaska and a lot of the aerial photography they did.
This movie looks great. If
And
you love Alaska, you're gonna like this movie because they
oh
get
yeah,
some good shots.
and like they put some time and some money into all of that, and I think that the direction, the work of the director in terms of the style worked really well. And then I look, he's got one other feature film, and it was 10 years later.
Really?
So he just didn't. His career did not take off, and I feel like he should have gotten maybe more work, unless it wasn't something that. And this being a debut, he had done a short film prior to it, but this was his feature debut. Is this movie?
I'm just wondering, I mean, did this go straight to streaming or did this come out in the theater? Because I figure something like this would have done well in the theater, especially
So
like this kind of true
yeah,
crime stuff.
so it was slated to, and it's funny. My first note was Lionsgate, a promising start, because
Yeah.
anytime you see Lionsgate, it is a coin flip, and if it's going to be something dumb and
Yeah.
fun or something really bad. So Lionsgate had the distribution rights, and they were ready to put it out in the theater. And it also had a decent production budget, 27 million, just under 28 million, which isn't awful, especially not in 2013, 2012, 2013 production time. And it was set to go, it tested really highly, and everything was set to go. And then Lionsgate merged or bought with Summit Entertainment. And because of that, suddenly their slate of movies got really big, and it was expensive, and they didn't have the budget to market all of them. And so this was one that they basically just cut the marketing for and threw it on a streamer, threw it direct to video, direct to whatever. And that's a bummer, because I agree.
Yeah.
If this had some marketing push behind it and gets in the theater, I think this does all right, because it's a solid movie.
I think maybe it wins an Oscar for like cinematography, maybe, or something, or at least gets nominated.
I feel like it would at least get some recognition, because it reviewed well, it tested well, it's got a hell of a cast. I mean, we've mentioned Cage and
dude,
Cusack and
cast.
Hudgens. So our top three: Nick Cage, Vanessa Hudgens, John Cusack, all crush it. Vanessa Hudgens, if anything, outdoes Nicolas Cage in a lot of her scenes. Like, she steals them from him. And
then Dean Norris shows up,
Yep.
who's Hank. in Break. I was like, oh, it's Hank. As soon as he showed up, I was like, is he going to be a good guy or a bad guy? Because one of my first notes I wrote for the movie here is I'm 2 minutes in and I already hate the cops in this movie because at the beginning of the movie, you know, she's brought in by the police. You know, she's taken to the hospital. She's escaped this murderer. You know, they do like the rape test on her and everything. And the cops are just being completely shitty to her. Oh, I'm
Except
sorry.
for one.
I forgot if
Nope.
I forgot if I can, you know,
No,
curse on
you're
this.
fine. It was all of them except for one. And that was one thing that I feel like the movie, it was the officer, he's played by Ryan Onan or Onan, Officer
Yeah.
Baker. He's the only one that really believes her and wants to help her and all of this.
Mhm.
And then the movie is just like, he's just gone. They forget
Yeah,
about him for the rest of the movie.
he's the chick in the bucket for
Absolutely.
this movie because he literally gets the ball rolling
Mm-hmm.
in this movie for the investigation into it, which as soon as Nick Cage takes over, it's like that dude never seen again.
Nope.
And you know, and everybody, all the cops are treating her like crap because she is, you know, a streetwalker.
Yeah.
And it kind of, and also too, like I forgot when I was first watching this movie that it was set in 1983.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as Nick Cage he first shows up, he answers the phone in the middle of the night or whatever, and you got the old school like tan wall phone, and I'm like,
Yep.
dude, he's still rocking the wall phone, man. But then I was like, oh yeah, this is 1983. This ain't, you know, this isn't actually 2013.
Yeah. No, you mentioned Dean Norris, which was great. And there's a couple others that popped up that I recognized. Rhoda Mitchell is, what's her name? Allie Holcomb. That is Nick Cage's wife.
Yeah,
I'm
and
a Rhoda Mitchell fan, and that's the other thing in the movie. It was Officer Baker was not in the movie enough and just got forgotten. And I feel like Rhoda Mitchell's character has important scenes, but we don't do enough with her in between those to understand what's going on. She's at the beginning of the movie. She's at one scene in the middle where she's yelling about having the girl in her house. And then at the end of it, where she's basically back on his side and saying, you got to do what you got to do. I'll get my job back. Because the whole story with Jack and Allie is that he is leaving state cop to go work for an oil company.
I was going to say that it's the trope of I'm retiring in 2 weeks. I don't need this shit. You know, that kind of trope.
My note on that was 2 weeks left. Oh man, don't catch a stray, buddy. Don't catch a stray. But he's taking this job. He's going to be making a bunch more money for the oil company. You know, it's early 80s, right? So that makes sense. And she quit her job and they're going to move. So they're 2 weeks from moving out of Anchorage. And going wherever or whatever town they're in. I think it was near Anchorage, but either way, like 2 weeks away from that. And so then the middle of the movie is her being upset because like they're not doing that and he's taking this case, but there wasn't enough interplay between those two. So that is something I wish could have maybe been touched on a little bit more, but it's a hard balancing act, right? Because the story is about what happened to Cindy and with Robert and Jack. So you have to toe that line of like giving us enough of Jack's home life without being too much of the focus.
Yeah,
and so they
didn't
erred on
he
the
like
side of
lose? Didn't he lose? No, it was his sister that died. So he's got like his younger sister died. So that's why he's kind of got this weird connection to Cindy. But it's more of a father-daughter relationship more than a brother-sister because he is so much older than she is.
Oh yeah. And I'm really glad that they didn't try to have any sort of like her falling for him type of trope. Which could have been easy to do in a Hollywood film. No, I just wanted. I think maybe it's just that I wanted more Rhoda Mitchell because I like her. And I think she's great. But then you had some character actors that I love that are those. They're those character actors that they just when they pop up in something, it doesn't matter what the movie is, it just makes me smile. Kevin Dunn as the lieutenant.
He shows up. I love
Kevin
him.
Dunn. I mean,
dude, 50 Cent showed up at one point in this movie. Let me add. What do you think about this note that I wrote? I
Okay.
wrote 50 Cent looks like Jules and Vincent Vega smashed into one person.
He does. He does. I think my note was like 50 Cent. All right. And that hair is a choice. That is
Yeah.
something. So
He
he
looks like
actually
looks like Jules with a Vincent Vega haircut.
he does. He was one of the producers on the movie. Was 50 Cent.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So I thought that was cool. And his character, he's another one where the character just isn't given enough. The movie just isn't focused on his story, but I feel like it was an important piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
But I loved 50 Cent, and I think he's a good actor. I think he pulls it off.
Well, that's why I think this script was really well written, because you do get these little small characters,
Mhm.
but it's well written enough, and you get just enough to know exactly who that person is and why they are involved in this story and what is happening.
Yeah.
And that, like you said, 50 Cent's only in the movie for maybe a total of 2 minutes, if
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, it's not very long.
But he has such an impactful uh what am I trying to say? Like there's a reason for him to be there,
Yeah.
and like, and Rhoda Mitchell, like there's a reason for her character to be there, even though she's only in the movie for less than 5 minutes.
Mhm.
She's an integral part of this story.
Yes. Same with Jodie Lynn O'Keefe as Shell, the older prostitute that sort of
Yeah.
takes Cindy under her wing a little bit to try to help her, but also sees help her, but really help herself, because she
Yeah.
sees this girl as being a moneymaker for her, in kind of in a way. But she does
It's such
help
a
her, and
sleazy. It's so many sleazy people in this movie.
it is super sleazy. Like that's the thing that reminded me of stuff like 8mm, where it's like everybody is sleazy, but like I feel like Shell's motivation is selfish, but it helped Cindy because it kept her from being on the street and brought her into the club. And at least there, she's just going to dance and do
Yeah, but
stuff
at the same
inside
time,
there.
she's like introducing her to
Oh yeah, but then
drugs, and
Mhm.
and that's what's going to keep her in the club, is
Yes,
getting her addicted to whatever she was giving her. And you're just like, oh, this poor girl, man. Like and it just makes you like, this movie just makes you think a lot about, by the time I got done with this movie, I was like, man, I'm so thankful for the life I have that
yeah,
I haven't had to go through crap like this, because there are people that still to this day go through horrible stuff like this, and it's like humanity is just terrible sometimes.
and it's the cycle of not being able to get out of it that's the hard part. And that's the thing with Cindy, is that she started running at such a young age, and she's still so young. She's only 17, 18 years old in this,
Yeah.
and she's already been on the street for what is probably a few years now. We don't really know. And everywhere she turns around, it's sort of being forced on her, and yet she's also making the poor decision because she doesn't know really any better, but she
Yeah.
understands that she she understands that it's not a great life, but it's all that she knows, and she can't really escape it, and she doesn't know how to. And when somebody like Jack comes along, she has no reason to believe or trust him, so she
Yeah.
doesn't. And there's a line I'll play later, that she talks about, like, just once I want somebody to make that promise and be telling the truth. That hits really, really hard, because she
Yeah.
wants to not be in her situation, but she doesn't want to go back to what she had, which is what everybody's trying to do, right?
Mhm.
That's Jack's thing, is like, well, don't you want to go home? Don't you think your parents are worried about you? And she's like, no, it wasn't any better then. Why would it be
Yeah.
better now? And I don't want to go back to that. So like, where she is terrible. Where she was is also terrible. She's kind of out of options. She doesn't know what else to do. So it's
And
rough.
then you come
It's
across
really rough.
somebody like, Shell,
Mhm.
and she's offering you this. All right, I can get you off the street,
Yep.
but if you come in here, you're gonna have to dance, and I'm gonna get you addicted to drugs. So you stay here, and probably pimp her out. So it's kind of like
And
it's like every turn she makes, it's like there's dog crap around she's gonna step in crap around every turn.
yeah. Oh yeah. Well,
And
and
Nick Cage is the only person, that's like in her life that's trying to help her, but like you said, she has no reason to trust him.
she has no reason to trust him, and like he's trying to help her, but he doesn't know how. So
Yeah.
all he can do is fall back on what he knows, and it's not necessarily going to work for her. But he's trying to figure out what will. And like with Shell, she brings her in. She's like, "Hey, this isn't good for you out here. Come inside," type of thing. And there's sort of this idea that like she's gonna protect her a little bit and put her in a better
Mhm.
situation. And then yes, it is feeding her the drugs, and it's under the guise of, well, this will help you to relax and be able to do this easier. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, yes, but also you're going to get her hooked on that, and then she's going to be stuck there. Like it's this whole cycle, And 50 Cent, who's Clayt Johnson is his character. He's not any better. Like he tries to act like he is doing things for her, but yet when she sees him, she's freaked out at first, and then he's like, "Come on back," and then she does, but then he turns on her because he owes money to people, and you've got the
Yeah.
bouncer that works at that club who's a complete piece of work, and that guy needs to die in a fire. It
Yeah,
was
because
just
we don't know why he owes so much money,
yeah,
but apparently he owes enough money to somebody to where the club owners want to have him killed.
yeah,
So basically, everybody's looking for Cindy at one point. Like Jack's looking for her, the club owners looking for, or who. Then John Cusack's looking for her. Everybody's looking for her at one point because they're just I don't know. And she tries to go back to 50 Cent, and then he ends up turning her into the people so he could be free of all his debts. And it's just
yeah,
kind of like this poor girl, man. God.
yeah. She is just used and abused by so many people, and it's and it's not even a savior thing with Jack. He's trying to save her, but I love there's moments where he's like, I can't make you do this. I can't force you to do
Yeah.
this. When she tries to run, she goes to the airport and Jack gets the call, hey, she's at the airport waiting on a flight to leave. And he goes to the airport to try and stop her. And the thing that he says, I loved that line where he's like, I can't make you stay, but I can't stop this guy without your help. I
Hmm.
need your help to make sure this doesn't happen anymore. But he's also resigned to the fact like she can just leave, and if she wants to, he's not going to stop her. And I liked
Yeah.
that because it gives Cindy as a character the agency to say, I'm going to stop this.
Hmm. Yeah, because when it really boils down to it, all he has is circumstantial evidence
Mhm.
against John Hughes, Robert. All he has is circumstantial evidence. They won't give him a warrant. They're trying to stake out John Cusack's house, and of course, John Cusack is a pilot, so he knows they're on to him.
Yep.
So he decides to take all of his trophies and everything he's taken from these girls and go take a plane up into the mountains and dump it all.
Yeah.
So, they're racing against the clock. And then of course, they finally do get the warrant, and they go in and, they find some guns that match the bullets that they found, but they don't find anything connecting them to the girls. So really she's his only link to
Because
being able to put him away.
yeah, because she's the only one that can identify him, that has seen him, that is still alive. She's the one that got away. And all right,
Oh, and the part when I'm sorry, I don't mean to
no,
interrupt,
no,
but
no,
the
go ahead.
part when they're in the strip club and she sees him,
Oh yeah.
dude, that moment where she freaks out is like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's like what can she do? Because everybody's mad at her because she's freaking out in the middle of a dance or whatever,
Yep.
and they're just like, "What's wrong with you?" And and he leaves. Like, what can she do? At
No.
this point, I mean, even if she says that's a murderer, like, what are they going to do? There's
Yeah.
nothing they can do to him.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of those scenes where she just acted incredible throughout this whole movie, but that was one
Oh,
in
it was
particular that I really liked.
horrifying.
Here's a question for you. So we don't see we start the movie in the aftermath of what happened to her, right? She's in this room, she's handcuffed, making a whole racket. The police are showing up because everybody at the hotel or whatever is talking about the young girl in this room screaming.
Yeah.
And they find her like that. So that's after she got away from Robert.
Yeah.
We never see, they don't even do like flashbacks, which I'm kind of glad, but they don't like go back to and reenact what happened in that moment. It's all just from that point on. Do you like that they didn't do that we didn't have to see that whole thing? Because they do somewhat recreate it with the character of Debbie. So we see
Yeah.
that going
We kind
on.
of get the idea, because there's no point in doing both of those, because
Mhm.
you're going to get the idea of, the other girl that he has that he then takes into the woods, and you see what he does to these poor girls. He gives them just the slightest bit of hope by letting them go, but then of course he hunts them down
Yeah.
like,
Oh,
like a psychopath, and just murders them in cold blood after basically a sex dungeon that he has at his house.
and
And
boy,
it's
did that room in his basement scream 80s? Could it have screamed 80s any more than it did? Like
oh
wood
god, that whole
paneling, the
I was
the
like, I had relatives that had rooms that looked just like this.
Mhm.
I was like, uh
minus all of the taxidermy. My uncle's basement when I was growing up had that same wood paneling. We had a room with it for
mhm.
a little while, but never had any of. I didn't have a lot of hunters as family members, so we didn't have all the taxidermied
Oh, I
animals,
did.
which
I
were
had a
creepy as
lot of
all get.
hunters on my dad's side of the family, so got to see a lot of deer heads and stuff on the walls.
By the way, that girl, Debbie, who is the one that, because we hear about a lot of them being abducted and missing, and we have the aftermath of Cindy, but Debbie is the one in the movie that we see go through the motions of, hey, I've got this photo
Mhm.
shoot I'm going to, and then she gets in the truck and the truck drives away and all that kind of stuff. She was
Dude,
played.
I wrote my note on that is, why is this girl getting into the creepy truck with the camper on it? Why would you do that?
Well, 1983. They didn't know. We didn't know better back then.
Ugh.
Um, I did have a note that nothing better happened to that dog, and then we never see the dog again. So I don't know what happened to the
Yeah.
dog. But at least we didn't have to have a scene involving something happening to it, because that always bugs me. But Debbie is played by Gia Mantegna, who is the daughter of Joe Mantegna, which is
Oh, really?
and I thought
I
that was
didn't
kind of
know
cool.
that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So and for her small bits, I mean, she was really good. But man, what happened to that girl was terrible. Like,
Yeah.
and I agree, we don't need to see that and any kind of flashbacks to what happened to Cindy. Like, we get the gist of what's going on with Debbie, and I do think that having yet another victim in the movie shows that this guy is not stopping. He just
Yeah.
keeps going with it. And like, his family goes out of town, he goes hunting, and his hunting now is the young women, and he's got a type, and he's been profiled and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And it's rough. And Cusack, to his credit, really nails this character.
He's so creepy.
In such an understated way for 90% of the movie. 95% of his performance is so understated and calm, which is much creepier. Absolutely. By the way, all right, I had to bring this up because I mentioned earlier that, you have that 2010s Nick Cage era where he was just taking every job possible, right? And I think at this point, 2013 was right before that happened for him, because he did 3 movies that year. It was this movie came out, his voice work for The Croods came out, and Joe, which I watched last year and was also a really good movie, by the way. If you haven't seen Joe, check that one out. It's pretty cool.
I haven't seen that.
And then it was the next year he did like 4 or 5 movies, and then 2015 and 16 it was a bunch of them. Cusack, I don't know if he was just feeling like working a lot or he also had back taxes to the IRS to pay. I'm not going to make any assumptions here. But in 2012, he was in movies that came out of The Raven, of The Paperboy, The Factory. Okay. Then 2013 hits. Ready for this? We Are Not Animals, The Frozen Ground, The Numbers Station, The Butler, where he played Richard Nixon.
Really?
Imagine, figure that one out. Grand Piano and Adult World, plus an episode of Doll and M TV series. And then the next year was The Bagman, Maps to the Stars, Drive Hard, The Prince, Love and Mercy, Reclaim, and a TV movie of Wall Street. That guy did
Wow.
14 projects released in 2 years.
And it's crazy you think about that era of filmmaking, because it's not only these two guys, it's also like, Bruce Willis.
Mm-hmm.
All these people are just making a ton of movies that are just basically straight to streaming or straight to video.
You know
Like,
what?
was that just kind of the golden age of just straight to video movies?
I feel like it was, and I have a theory on that. And my theory on that is because really, like, straight to video really started in the 90s, right? That's
Mhm.
when we started getting straight to video releases.
Yeah, and they were terrible.
They were.
Most of them.
Because that's going to always be low budget because there's a less return on that investment. So you're not going to put a lot of money into that project. What I think happened was late 2000s, early 2010s is when we get the digital video revolution, right?
Mhm.
Where digital video cameras on a cinematic scale get to a point where they are actually good enough to use. Because we had digital video before that, famously 28 Days Later shot on the Canon XL1, I think it was, which was a consumer grade digital video camera. I've actually used one of those. But the cinema cameras were getting better. And I think that's what happened is I think with the digital video being cheaper to shoot and faster to shoot with, because you don't have to send it out, get it processed and get it back.
Yeah.
You started seeing a lot more direct-to-video, direct-to-streaming service type stuff as streaming services started coming around and video-on-demand services started hitting, and just the cost. Because, again, this movie looks great, and it was a $27 million film. You make this 10 years earlier, and your budget is going to be higher in order to get the shots that they got for this.
And you can get people like Nick Cage and John Cusack because, kind of their heyday is over with, but they're still somewhat relevant.
Mhm.
So you could probably get, I have no idea what Nick Cage made on this movie, but it can't be more than a couple of $100,000 probably. He probably got scale for this movie.
It's impossible to know, but like, again, with that budget, and you can also get your, Kevin Dunn's and Dean Norris's, because Dean Norris in 2013 was known, but he wasn't like a huge name. Kevin Dunn was known; he was working.
And Kurt Fuller is in this movie too.
Kurt Fuller, I giggled like a little kid when he popped up on screen because I love Kurt Fuller.
We just saw him on No Holds Barred. That we did a commentary for not too long ago, and I'm like, what is he doing in this movie? Like, why is he in this movie?
What I love, he plays it completely straight, and just he is the district attorney, and he's great in that role, and I love it because he can be so silly and fun. Like, his character of Woody on Psych is one of my favorite things because you can tell he just gets to have fun. He got to have so much fun with that character. And this is just a different thing, but I love seeing that. I love seeing comedic actors get to play just a role, just show up,
and he's so frustrating. He's so frustrating as the district attorney. That's just like, no, I'm not going to give you a warrant because all you have is circumstantial evidence. There's nothing here that gives me reason, because John Cusack character is like a pillar of the community. He's like a business owner, and that's how it usually goes with these serial killers. That's how they profiled him. And then they knew he was like, the last thing they said was like, he's probably a respected member of the community.
Yeah. And honestly, Kurt Fuller's DA is exactly what he should have been, because he sympathizes with the state cops. They want to catch this guy, but he has to look at it from the standpoint of the justice system and what's going to happen. They're going to bring him in. They're not going to have enough.
No, he's going to walk.
And he's going to walk, and that will just make it worse. And so he's very frustrating and probably very frustrated, and he's frustrating for, Jack and Lyle and all of the state cops, but it's the way the system is set up. So it works really well here. Also, I got to mention Matt Gerald, who's the other state cop, the assistant sergeant. I loved him because I remember him from the Daredevil series. He had a very small role in that, but he's just fun little character actor. Yeah, he plays who the the character who eventually would become Stiltman if they followed through the character himself.
Oh,
He's
okay.
the one that makes Daredevil's costume, and he was making Wilson Fisk's
Oh, yeah,
suits,
yeah, yeah.
and he's great. But no, it was super fun to see Kurt Fuller just pop up like that. But it's one of those movies where I kind of like it because there's actual detective work going on as well. Like they're trying to find information and find things, and the thing that finally gets them over the hump and gets them their quote unquote smoking gun is a map, and it was
Yeah.
something that they found and sort of dismissed.
Yeah.
Because when they do finally get their warrant, and they go through the whole house, and they find nothing. They don't find anything that's enough to get him on.
Yeah. Well, they eventually find the gun
They
that
do.
a gun that matches the bullet that they have, but it's not enough.
Yeah.
And then eventually they come across this map who said, because his wife said he looks at this map every night. And they look at it, and that's when it clicks with Nick Cage. Like, hey, these markings on this map are, spots where these bodies were found.
But again, I love that because it's detective work where they get this thing. And he's like, "What is this?" I'm looking at. Okay, what do these mean? And they're like, "I don't know. It's just thing you looked at." And he goes, "Wait a minute, hold on." And they start cross-referencing it with their files. No, this is here. Well, where would that have been? Oh, probably about here. This mark. And they're like, "Hold on," and they start matching it up. And I love stuff like that. That for me is great. Great work.
Oh, and then when Nick Cage gets the bracelet, and they have John Cusack in the interrogation room with his lawyer.
Yep. Okay. So
he
first
knows
we have to set up that bracelet, because that scene, that was a rough
brilliant
scene, but it was so good.
So such an actor's scene. Like if you're an acting student, watch that whole scene.
Because Jack gets the case. He doesn't want it, but he's getting it because he's the best one to put on it, even though he's leaving in 2 weeks. And one of the old cases that's part of this, the girl that went missing, her sister has information, wants to talk to him. So they meet in a diner. That diner scene was something else, because it wasn't, again, what I expected at all. And I've got some clips from the movie, and one of them is from that scene. I got to play this because she looks at him and she pulls out this bracelet, and she goes, "This bracelet, my sister and I had matching bracelets. We got them together. She wore hers all the time. She never took it off." Basically, it's Chekhov's bracelet, right? We're showing you this. This is going to be important by the end of the movie. This is how you're going to identify it. But she goes to give it to him, or he goes to give it back to her or something, and she tells him to keep it. And it's the way she says,
"But I want you to remember her."
This person that Jack has never met, had no knowledge of other than what's in the case file. And she's like, "I want you to remember her over all of the others." I was like, oh man, that's a lot to dump on this guy out of nowhere. And then she basically just gets up and leaves. So he's had this bracelet, and that was a big moment for Jack. But he's got that bracelet. I didn't see it. Like, I didn't clock it right away what he was going to do when he was looking at it and talking. And he even asked, was it Lyle? I think Dean Norris's character, like, "Hey, did you find a bracelet like this amongst all the things?" And
because he knows that a serial killer like John Cusack is going to keep a memento, and something like that is something that he's going to keep. So it was basically a bit of a gamble on his part when it comes to the part we're going to talk about. It's kind of a gamble, but it absolutely pays off.
Yeah, so he has the bracelet, and he knows it's identical to the one that he would find with the stuff, and he plays a bluff, and it's so good because, again, I see him with the bracelet in his hand, and I'm just not putting it together until he walks in and sets it down on the table. He's like, "We found that amongst some of your things. Like, we found it." And the look on Cusack's face at that moment is "Oh shit, you've got me." But he can't let that be known. There's just that briefest of moments where he kind of lets there's a crack.
You see it you see it in the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And that moment right there, plus the moment in Identity when he finally realizes what's really happening, the
Mm-hmm.
twist in the
Oh yeah.
movie, and he goes, what? Like those two moments are two of the greatest acting moments. I
Oh,
love John Cusack as an actor. You
yes. Same.
see it in his eyes when he puts that bracelet down, you see it in his eyes. He's like, oh shit, I'm caught.
Well, and there's moments earlier where he has almost a smirk on his face, like he enjoys what he is doing.
Yeah.
This and he it comes through in that performance. Like, I'm with you. I love John Cusack. He just brings something all the time that I can't quite put my finger on exactly what it is, but whatever it is, he's got it. And his acting in this was so subtle until it wasn't. It was very Nick Cage in that way. It was very subtle
Yeah.
until he decided to blow up.
Went from 0 to 1,000 real quick.
So I've got clips. We gotta hear some of these clips because these are pretty good. So we're gonna start with Cindy because Vanessa Hudgens, I'm telling you, she might have had the best performance in this movie, and that's saying
Yeah.
something because I think both Cage and Cusack's performances were phenomenal. But Vanessa Hudgens, I just got a couple of hers. Most of it's from the scene where she's in the hospital bed and Jack comes to see her, and because it's been very push and pull between the two of them. You know, she's very standoffish in the beginning of the movie with the first cop for obvious reasons. He's a dick. And then she's very closed off the first time she meets with Jack. Because Jack goes out looking for her in town, and then she just happens to somebody found her. I kind of like how things happened off screen and we're just sort of hand wave it away. Like I appreciate that. we don't need to see every single detail. Like somebody noticed her, brought her in, or convinced her to come in, whatever. But she's very closed off for that scene. And then she starts to open up a little bit, but then she gets very snarky and very closed off again when like they're meeting at the roller rink, which is very, that was a very 80s motif right there.
Yeah.
Did you spend a lot of time at roller rinks? Because we definitely
I used to when I was a kid.
Trips. Yeah.
Dude, the skating rink that I used to go to as a kid, if you go there, I went there not too long ago, maybe 10 years ago. Dude, they still had the same stuff in there from when I was a kid in the 80s and 90s. Same video games, same Miss Pac-Man machines, everything.
The one that we went to stopped being a skating rink, became a bar and like adult arcade, but then it also had a concert venue for a while. Then it was a nightclub for a bit. I think it's a church now. I don't know what's going on over there. The building has been so many different things, but that scene was, to me, was great. Like, they keep looking out and watching the kids skating, and they're eating,
that whole scene. I'm just like,
pizza.
why are they in a skating rink for this? Like, the only reason is to make it look like the 80s.
Yeah, basically. Which, again, I give credit to this movie. There's very few times where I was like, that's obviously not 1983. There was maybe a couple like background cars or something in the back, unfocused or whatever. But all the cars they were driving were 80s cars. Nobody was dressed, to me, as anything out of the ordinary. They didn't have weird technology or anything like that. We had one cell phone, and it was a bag phone in a car. And of course, the pimp would have that because he'd have cash. But everything with Cindy was like this kind of, she ran very hot and cold. She would soften up, and then as soon as she started to feel vulnerable, she would harden back up. And makes sense. That's what this girl had to do for her entire life. But I had just a couple of quotes from her. So this was the early one when Nick Cage first sits down with her.
And how old are you?
I'm 18 now. I was 17 at the time.
You're not 23.
And I kind of like that because she had said she was 23 at the beginning. And now she's like, no, I'm 18 now. I was 17 when it happened. And I'm thinking it happened like 2 days ago. So no, you're 17.
This was like, what, a week ago, if that?
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't very long. But then when she's in the hospital bed, so after she gets attacked, she ends up back in the hospital midway through the movie or towards the end. And Cage, Jack goes to see her, and
Yeah.
they're talking, and she says this to him. I think this is from that scene.
I had shit happen to me that ain't supposed to happen to no little kids.
Nope, that's at the skating rink. And
Yeah.
that was, again, her closing off. Like, she started to get vulnerable. He tried to help, but he just used the wrong terminology. It triggered her to close back off. And that was one of those, I'm like, oh man, this character has just gone through some terrible stuff. And
Yeah,
you
that's
feel
when she's
so
talking
bad.
about why, because Nick Cage is asking her, why don't you want to go back home?
Mhm.
And she's like, because horrible crap happened to me back then.
I do like, because when she's in the hospital, she has a photo with her, and it's her mom, and we get a little bit more of her backstory. Her mom was 15 when she had her, and everyone told her when she got old enough that, oh, it was her sister because of how young her mom was at the time, and her uncle did things and all of that. But then Cage asked her, like, did you know your dad? And she's basically, no, there was no dad in her life. But this,
I used to pretend that he was in the Navy. That's why he couldn't come see me.
because that's what you do in that kind of a situation, is you create a world or a reason why, whether it's true or not doesn't really matter. That was a comfort for her. That one, it kind of hit me. And then when she said this to him,
Like when they say that everything's gonna be okay, but they were actually telling the truth.
when they say everything's going to be okay, that they're actually telling the truth. I was fighting back some emotion on that point.
Yeah.
It's such a platitude to be like, everything's going to be okay, don't worry about it, especially when you've got a situation where you've got somebody who has been through hell and been abused, and you've got the protective person trying to comfort. And what do you say? Everything's going to be okay, we'll work everything out. And for her, that's never been a reality. And just once she would like that to be a reality. And I thought that was pretty powerful.
It just sucks that there are people in this world that have to go through that, know?
Awful.
And
I hate
it's horrible.
And
it's like they just don't have anybody good in their life to protect them. No, never had anybody to protect them or show them there's a better way to do things, or just I don't know, this movie's just heavy. It just makes you think about all this stuff.
It is really heavy, because you're right. Like, and anybody that seems like they're going to be helpful to her from her perspective, they come across as, oh, we're going to do this for you, but they're really not. Like Shell, I mentioned, comes at it with a, let me get you off the street, let me help you out. But it's really a self-serving thing.
Yeah,
helping her.
it's all selfish. It's all, what can you, I will help you under the guise of, oh, I'm helping you, but this is going to be more for me than for you.
Yep, exactly that. All right, Jack. Well, let's do Bob first. John Cusack. So I only had a couple of his, because he doesn't have a ton of lines.
Yeah, he doesn't really say a whole lot.
A lot of his performance is just in his mannerisms and in the way he looks. Like, there's the first scene when we meet him where he pulls up to the bakery, I guess, that he owns, and comes in for 5 minutes to see that things are going on. It's more or less making an appearance, right? The local cops see him, they all know him, everybody. It's almost like creating an alibi. Yeah, I stopped by my store. Yeah, I was working. I was at my store. But when he does talk, when he's finally towards the end of the movie getting interrogated, it gets weird and it gets creepy. And he definitely, like, when they start talking to him about things that happened, because he had been arrested and served time before. He had been arrested 10 years earlier, I think it was, or 12 years earlier. And did a little bit of time, got out, and then he was arrested again for something else and kind of got out
like
of it.
So stalking or something like that.
Yeah. So this wasn't a new thing, but he had enough kind of pull in the community, I guess, that he wasn't necessarily viewed as being and they didn't have hard evidence. That was the biggest thing.
Yeah.
But this was one of those where I was like, this isn't the answer you give.
And I had an attraction to her right away. So, I followed her home.
No, that's not what you do, Bob.
No.
Bad Bob. Don't do that. Don't follow. Don't
Yeah.
follow. Not cool.
He's so creepy.
So creepy.
He's so creepy.
And it's so creepy because he delivers that in a way where the character of Robert Hansen doesn't see anything wrong with doing that.
Yeah.
It's that because he sees everything as like objects for himself, right? So it's I was attracted to her, so I followed her home, like you do.
Yeah.
No, it's not what you do. That's not what human beings do. You crazy
Definitely has a
psychopath.
couple of screws loose
Mhm.
up there. Like, because there, there's the creepy scene where he's in the basement and he puts on the music and he's just kind of walking around. It doesn't seem that odd. He's just listening to music or
Oh,
whatever.
yeah.
And then he's like walking to the other side of the room by the pool table. And then you see the girl chained to the wall and she's peed on the floor. And she's like, I'm sorry. And he steps in it and he gets mad and he like throws the thing at her. It's like, clean it up.
Yeah.
And you're just like, ugh, what a turd.
Total. I also thought this might come into play when he said it, and then it never really was, but it just struck me.
I'd be as hard-pressed to remember back when I was born in Iowa.
I don't know. There was something about dropping the fact that you were born in Iowa was interesting to me. But he finally does snap when Cage has made his bluff, right? Jack has played his hand, put the bracelet down there, got him off guard. So now he is off his high perch, and now he's unsteady. And then the door opens up, and there's Cindy standing there, just staring at him. She never says a word, just brilliant. She just stands there and stares at him and lets him crumble right there. And he gets up, and now he's been yelling at Jack, telling him, you don't know who I am. Do you know who I am? Type of thing, and this, that, and the other. And then the door opens up and there's Cindy, and it incites him even further. And he finally just snaps and yells,
I should have killed you when I had the chance.
And he does that. First of all, that's the Cage freak out, but it's Cusack doing it. So it's a very different way to do it. And I liked it. I liked it a lot. And I also loved how that exact moment is when his lawyer has this look on his face of like, well, we're done.
Yeah. His lawyer's like, oh, Bob. Oh, Bob. You hear him in the background going, oh, Bob. Oh, Bob. Like, yep, they got you, buddy. They got you now.
Yeah. But so much of his performance is just understated and muted, and it's really worth seeing. Now, Cage got a few of his because he was great. First, I just loved.
Yeah, I'm the wrong guy to get in the middle of this. It's my last 2 weeks.
Your big head on a swivel at that point. That's the trope,
Yeah.
the 80s trope. Oh no.
Yeah, it's Danny. It's was it Danny Glover in Lethal Weapon?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like I'm like a week away from retiring. Why are we doing this?
Yep. That was the other thing that reminded me of like Seven, right? It was Somerset in his last week on the job gets that case, and this is 2 weeks from Jack retiring and going to work in the oil field or the oil company or whatever job he was going to do for them, and getting dumped this case, like of all the times. But it worked. It worked out. He had I did love, again, the family. His family wasn't in the movie enough, but I liked him coming home late and like his daughter waking up and hearing him, and she comes down and is like, Dad, we were waiting up for you, but Mom fell asleep. She said you never called. He's like, I'm sorry. And he's been going through it with work, and so he picks her up to take her to bed or whatever. And
Don't ever grow up, honey, okay?
that's boy.
That line hit me right there. I was like, man, I should have never grown up. Just don't, if you're a kid, just don't ever grow up. The world is horrible. The world is a terrible place.
And that is why I try to live by the philosophy of growing old is inevitable, but growing up is optional. And I have a friend of mine who is, he is what I aspire to be, because he has like a big boy adult job, right? He's got kids. Kids aren't for me, but he does a great job. He's a great dad, all this kind of stuff. But he can be an adult when he has to be, but he can be a kid when he wants to be. And he's found the way to balance that. And so, same thing. That line hit me. I was like, oh. to his daughter. Also, kind of the tropey line as a detective trying to catch a serial killer.
This guy did it, and they let him get away with it.
I mean, it's true.
Mhm.
I kind of liked that we didn't get too much interplay between the state cops and the city cops in terms of like the film itself wasn't focused on that, because it was whatever went on with the Anchorage PD that kind of let in terms of this movie. And I think it's tough too when you're based on real events.
Yeah. Well, like I said, you get exactly what you need in
Mhm.
this movie to
Yes.
know exactly what's going on. There's never a time where you're confused or you're like, well, why did this happen? Like, there's never a point in this movie where you're really lost. You're just,
Yeah, that's a good point.
you're not lost, but you also don't know what's going to happen. So it just kind of like all this unfolds before you, but it's always like, well, this happened because of this. This is happening because of this. And it's like, it all makes sense when it all is put together.
Mm-hmm.
I know what you do to those girls, and I'm gonna prove it.
It's gonna be hard, Sergeant. I heard you were leaving.
I don't know where he heard that he was leaving, but
Yeah.
that's a little, but that was a great moment. Like those two just sitting across the table it's not quite Pacino, De Niro in Heat, but it's on that trajectory.
Right? Yeah.
Which I thought was really good. We did get one little mini Cage kind of yelling moment. He's got to yell at least once, right? And it's when he goes, he's trying to find Cindy, and he's looking around, he's going up and down the street, but he confronts Shell about it in that club, and she's not giving him anything, and he knows that she at least has talked to her. And I just liked,
because I'm getting this whole shithole shut down. All right, so start packing.
Yeah.
I just want to.
I was hoping you captured that, because as soon as it happened, I was like, "Oh, there's Nick Cage right there."
There's a little Nick Cage for you, and also that's just kind of a sound effect I want to keep around. Like I want to just be able to yell that at any point.
Shithole.
Yep, exactly. Him in the interrogation scenes, I loved this because this is a great line of reasoning.
Case after case over a period of 12 years, and all these girls' cases are saying the exact same thing. I was bound. I was threatened. A gun or a knife was involved. And you're telling me that everybody's making up the same story?
Like, come on. I know it's circumstantial, and it's not what you know, it's what you can prove.
Mm-hmm.
But boy, the circumstantial evidence piled up on this guy. Like every single story being basically the same story. And here's this guy trying to be like, yeah, they made all that up. No, none of that's true. None of that really happened.
I had no idea Anchorage, Alaska was so seedy back in the 70s and 80s.
Man, when you're that far away from just everything, like, and it's not a huge population, but it's still a decent population. Kind of crazy. This one was another good moment in the interrogation.
You're saying no way. Those are just places where I hunted.
Oh, I believe they were, Bob.
His that attitude at that point where he's like, I know what you've done, and I'm gonna get you.
There's just has to make him slip up, because that's the thing. I mean, he's so like John Cusack is such a smart serial killer, because he left behind no hard evidence anywhere,
and he is confident because he's been doing it for so long. It's been a decade of doing this at this point. More than that, it's been 12 years of this kind of stuff going on. So he does feel very confident that he can get away with it. It's only Cindy getting away. That's if she doesn't get away, who knows how much longer that would have gone on.
Yeah.
Let's see. I had one more. I think it's this one.
Cindy, I can't make you stay. You can still get on a plane. But the only way I'm going to stop this is with you.
I loved that moment. I really liked that one. And then on the flip side of it is when he tells her,
I promise, okay? I promise nothing's going to happen to you.
And I was just like, oh, don't say that. I'm thinking, great, Cindy's not going to make it through this movie now.
Yeah. You never make that promise. Never.
No, that is the promise you cannot keep. And I mean, he does, but oof, that was a rough one.
Yeah.
Kevin Dunn just had a couple good lines I liked, and I had captured them because this is right after Cage is like, I'm 2 weeks away from being done. I can't take this.
And stay away from the APD. If this thing falls apart, we'll all be looking at jobs at oil companies.
You know, it's true. So I kind of like that he did that, and they don't interact with the Anchorage PD a whole lot. He also had, I liked this quite a bit because again, it could have been very easy to make the lieutenant and the DA antagonistic towards Jack. And I think in a tropier, more Hollywoodized screenplay, that would have happened where they're like really pushing back on him. But Kevin Dunn's lieutenant is on Jack's side the whole time. Like, we just need the evidence. And even, I mean, to an extent, even the DA is. But I liked this.
You're smarter than he is, right? Now remember, when you get a guy like this drowning, you pour on more water.
First of all, I like that. That's good.
Yeah.
That's a good line. But I also love that it's basically his lieutenant being like, keep going, push it further, find what you need to find. I will back you. And I appreciated that.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that all the cops know he did it.
Mm-hmm.
They know he did it, but they just don't have the hard evidence.
Nope. And then Kurt Fuller.
Look, I'm not going to tell you how to do your job, okay? But I need something a lot more solid before I'll support a warrant.
He's great. He's great in that role.
Yeah.
Like, he's perfect in that. He's just the right amount of wormy to pull off being a DA. And he doesn't have to be, like, Kurt Fuller doesn't have to be goofy. I mean, his character in Ghostbusters 2 is goofy.
Yeah.
But when the role calls for him to just be a guy, he can do that. And that's what I love. So had to get that. And this was the last one. And I only got this because this is in the scene where they find the body. They found a body. It's back in the morgue. And they are looking at it and trying to figure out what happened. And it's the medical examiner.
Ever try to saw a bone with a flat blade?
Ever try to saw a bone with a flat blade? No, I have not.
No.
And none of us in the room have either. So
No.
You just want to get to the point there, Doc, or what? What are we doing here? But those are my clips for this movie. It's not like it's interesting. Going into this, I try to not have expectations when I go into a movie, especially one that I'm not familiar with at all. I have not heard anything about, because this just didn't get marketing. But given the era that it was and my perceived, like, oh, it had no budget type of thing, this is going to be some cheese. So I watched one recently that had a little bit of cheese to it. It's not that movie. It's not that kind of movie at all. It is dark. It is at times a little difficult, but well done. And I think overall very respectful of kind of what happened, because it doesn't glorify the killings. It doesn't glorify Robert in any way or build him up as some sort of a mythical thing as a serial killer. Because you look at what happened here with Robert Hansen is in a lot of ways worse than most serial killers in movies, but he's not played up like that necessarily. This is really good. This is a really good movie that is criminal.
Yeah.
How little people know of it. I mean,
I think this movie is excellent.
Yeah. The fact that you and I, as movie guys, as film buffs, didn't know anything about it tells you a lot right there. Like, this just, Lionsgate not marketing this at all after spending the money to film it and it testing well, and then basically just shunting it onto video on demand services in 2013 and basically burying it is just awful, because
shameful.
It is. You've got three fantastic performances by Cage. Nick Cage is very understated in this. He never gets weird or goofy. But he acts really well. That's the thing. He is solid throughout it. It's not like he's sleepwalking through anything. And you get this feeling that his character of Jack really wants to help, and that's why he is a state cop. And that's where my thought of I want more with his wife and that relationship in the movie is because of what she says to him at the end, where it's like, this is you, this is what you do, you need to keep doing this. So we don't have to, because the idea is that Jack was dragging his feet starting with the oil company, right? He hadn't signed the papers yet, he hadn't made anything official because he wasn't fully committed to that idea. And the movie doesn't dive enough into that, partly because it's just not the story that they're trying to tell.
Yeah.
But I liked it, and it fed the performance really well.
I just think that as far as the Nick Cage's performance in this movie, like you go in with an expectation with Nick Cage, you're like, what am I going to get? Am I going to get crazy Cage, or like, is this going to be low budget Cage, or like, but this is one of those movies where you're watching it and he's so into being this character, you forget that he's Nick Cage while you're watching it. You're just like, you know how you're watching a Tom Cruise movie and you're just like the entire time, you're just like, I'm watching a Tom Cruise movie.
Yeah.
Well, this movie is like, yes, it's Nick Cage, but after a while, you kind of forget that he's Nick Cage, and you're just like, okay, he's this detective
and
or captain, whatever he was.
Yeah, given that it came out the same year as Joe, I kind of can see it there, because this would have been coming off of the heels of something like Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance, and you know, the overacting that he was doing for that movie and kind of the silliness of that. So he sort of course corrected and did a couple really kind of straight line characters that have a lot of emotion to them. And then he can go on and do things like Outcast and Rage and whatnot. And and that's the thing I love about his career, is it's all over the place, because he just takes projects on and he goes for it. And he gives it whatever he thinks it's going to need in that moment. There's some great interviews from around the time that Dream Scenario was coming out a couple years ago that are fantastic, listening to him talk about acting and his ideas of why he does some of the things that he does. And it's what makes me just always find him compelling, is that he really wants to bring something to his movies, into his performances. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And early on, he did a lot of very method stuff, and he sort of learned after a certain period of time, like, that doesn't really work anymore. I'm going to do something different. And so you just never get the same thing movie to movie from him. And I kind of like that. And this was him really bringing it. This is, it's hard for me to say this is like Leaving Las Vegas level performance, because that performance is amazing. But this is that really good, like, one, maybe a tier down from that type of performance from him. This is on par with Joe, with Pig, is another one where he was just fantastic. So I loved him. Cusack too. Cusack is one that he's always interesting. And it was cool to see him going somewhat against type and being the weird, you know, crazy person, the psycho. Because usually you're right. He's playing the detective or the cop or whatever it is, when he's not doing romantic comedies. And so it's kind of nice to see him do something different and get to play a little more.
Yeah. Me personally, I highly recommend this movie if you haven't seen it, but definitely know that you need to be in a mood. This is a dark movie.
If you like thrillers and you like true crime, this is a movie you will enjoy, I think.
Yeah.
You will find interesting, but it is dark. If that's not your thing, I would probably skip it, because it's that seedy underbelly of stuff. Like it's the
sexual assault, you know, it's all that stuff. So if that's not your thing, if that bugs you, please do not watch this one.
Correct. But the one thing I will give the movie a lot of credit for is, as dark as the material is, we never have any of that happening on screen.
Yeah.
We get aftermath. We get he only, the body count in the movie is only one with Debbie, and we don't see we never see any of the assaults and the torture. The movie didn't need to do that, and it was wise not to, and I appreciate it not doing that, because we don't need that. that makes this movie for me one that I can rewatch versus something like Monster with about
Yeah.
Eileen Wuornos, which is a fantastic movie and it's a very compelling story, but it did show a few of those moments, and I don't need to watch that again. It was not something that I want to go through anytime soon. This one is more rewatchable because it doesn't have to be as explicit about it.
Yeah, and
But
it's
it's
got
still-
the acting. Yeah, this is just a good movie if you love good acting. Like this is just that movie.
Oh yeah, absolutely. From everyone, like up and down the cast list, everyone is doing something, even if it's being the detective at the beginning of the movie who's just an ass and you just want to punch him in the face.
Yeah,
but he's good at it. He does it
yeah.
well. And all your Dean Norris and Kevin Dunn and Kurt Fuller and Matt Gerald are all great in their roles. Rhoda Mitchell is great for the time that she's on screen.
Yeah.
It's a bummer that this movie is so under appreciated and underseen. Just not enough people know that it exists, and it's not, I think, currently on a streaming service anywhere that I could find. At least I couldn't find it today, but you can rent it.
You can rent it. It's streaming on something called Movie Sphere.
Okay, I don't know what that one is, but
I don't know what that one is either.
But if you have Movie Sphere or you can get it, check it out. But it's a very well made movie, and I would like to see the writer and director who did apparently spend a couple of years kind of prepping this, 2 years researching the case, hiring people, court researchers, all this kind of stuff. So Scott Walker put in his homework for this, which I very much appreciate. I would like to see more of him because I do think there is some filmmaking ability and storytelling ability there. So we'll have to see if anything else happens with his career going forward. But
I hope so.
This is a really, really good movie that just not enough people know about. So
yeah, and I don't agree with this Metascore being a 37. Like that is just egregious. There's no reason it should be that low. This should be at least a 70, 75.
I mean, the IMDb score is a 6.4 out of 10, which I can kind of see. And I think some of that is just not enough people seeing it.
And I think a lot of it is people going and expecting something else, and what they get is not what they were expecting.
Yeah, I think that is a big thing with it is expectations versus what the movie is. We both went into it with very different expectations about what we were going to get, but we were pleasantly surprised by what it was. So
completely ignore the Metascore on this movie. If you're on the fence about watching it, just ignore that Metascore. Don't even pay attention to it.
Yeah, the movie is worth seeing, as long as true crime and stuff like that is a thing that you can get into. If that's not your thing, definitely. If you don't do the dark stuff, don't watch this one because it's
because I definitely needed some cartoons after I watched this movie.
Oh yeah.
Because like you said, it doesn't show you anything. There's nothing, they don't show you anything horror. I mean, they do, a few little things here and there to kind of give you a sense of what's happening, but they don't overtly show you like sexual assault or anything like that.
Right.
But it's also like, it's the subject matter, it's the performances, it's the aesthetic of the movie, the setting. It's all just so dark and just like, and then to know that this really happened.
Yeah.
Afterwards, I was just like, man, I got to watch some Bugs Bunny or something. Cause I am, this movie will put you in a place.
I mean, it's why a movie like Seven I can watch, but then yes, I need a palate cleanse afterwards. I got to turn it on and, watch The Emperor's New Groove and kind of reset myself. So it is one of those, but it also shows that Cage as a actor, yes, he went through a kind of a period where it felt like he just never said no to any script that came along, but he's always picking things to do. And I feel like he doesn't just do a movie to do a movie. It's not quite Bruce Willis in I'm just going to do anything to get paid because he was trying to bank up a bunch of money because he knew the aphasia was really going to start to take hold and to set his family up. It's I'm going to do a lot of stuff because I want to work, And yes, I've got some back taxes I got to pay, and I need to make some money. But he's not just taking everything for the sake of taking everything. He's making some choices, and I like that.
Yeah.
Which is funny that I say that, because the next movie I'm going to be talking about from 2007 is Next, which does feel like the I'm just going to do something to do it, because I don't know much about this one.
I saw it when it first came out, and I can say that it was a paycheck movie.
Wasn't there another one he did around the same time as Next that feels like it was kind of in the same vein? And I think for a long time I always conflated those two, and I cannot remember the title of the other one now. I want to say it wasn't, because I know like Left Behind keeps popping in my head, but I know that's not it, because I know what that is. But it was Knowing. That's the one I'm thinking of.
Knowing, that's it. Yeah.
Next and Knowing for me, for the longest time, existed in the same place. They were just the same movie. And I could never remember which one was which. So
I think it's pretty much the same thing.
Probably.
Almost.
Well, we'll find out, because I've never seen Next. So that is Next. Next is Next. So
have fun with that.
We're in now.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in a Mel Brooks bit.
I feel like you're going from a great Nicolas Cage movie to a not so great Nicolas Cage movie.
That's why I do this every year, though. I want to celebrate him in all the different ways that we can. And that's, Valley Girl was a lot of fun, but it's very cheesy. But before that was Dream Scenario, which was amazing. And this was a hidden gem. This is one of those that I had no idea it was going to be as good as it was. And now we're going to go with something that was more mainstream and did get a wide release, and we're going to see what that's like with him. And it is directed by Lee Tamahori, who did, I believe it was James Bond Die Another Day was his as well. He's a Kiwi director. So that's next week. Next episode is the movie Next. And Kairos is coming back to talk about that one with me. So that, and that will wrap up Cage-A-Palooza. So you're going to want to come back and check that out. But if you like this, you like hearing me talk about it every week, I do it weekly. Very rarely do I miss a Sunday, unless it's a schedule change, like in a couple of weeks when I'm in Atlanta for Dragon Con. I'll get to that in a second. But I do this every week. Twitch.tv/TVstravis for the live stream. tvstravis.com for all of the podcast feeds, all of the other shows that I do. And I am going to be at Dragon Con in a couple of weeks. So if you're going to Dragon Con, come find me, because I want to talk with people. I'll be doing the show live. I've got the boys from Uploads of Fun, which is a YouTube channel of a dad and his two sons. And they're going to come on. His boys have never seen the movie The Sandlot, and they're going to watch it, and we're going to talk about it. And I am really looking forward to hearing the perspective of a couple of teenagers from today talking about a 35-year-old movie that's set 30 years prior to that.
Yeah.
And what that, how much it's going to play or not, because I'm pretty sure their dad has seen it. So this is going to be an interesting one. So definitely, if you're going to make it to Dragon Con, come to Galleria 7 on Friday, and keep an eye on my social medias and tvstravis.com for the official schedule of that when I've got that locked down. But Jay, man, this is always fun to have you on. It's great.
I'm always a pleasure to be here. Love having you on my shows. I love coming over here. And Travis did win guest of the year on the Openmicers podcast this last year.
I've got the t-shirt to prove it.
Yeah, I got the t-shirt and the rotisserie chicken.
Yeah, I didn't have that left though. I ate that.
But yeah, go check it out. The Openmicers Podcast at Openmicers Podcast, pretty much everywhere. That's my comedy podcast that I do with Mr. Jacob Craig. You might remember him from the what movie did we do? Eraserhead.
Eraserhead. Yes.
Yeah, he was on the Eraserhead episode. He's my co-pilot over there on Openmicers Podcast. It's a comedy podcast where we talk to just people we like. We talk to comedians. We've had a lot of famous people on. We've had, we've pretty much everybody has been on the show at this point. So go check it out, Openmicers Podcast. And of course, if you like retro game stuff, go check out the Nerd Cave Retro Show with me and Mr. Derek Diamond, where every week we talk about all the latest retro gaming news, and we review an old game. And this month we took an idea from you, Travis, where you do Cage-A-Palooza every month. This month we're doing for August every year. Now we're going to do top 5 months. So all the episodes this year are top 5, this and that, and we read all of our listener emails as well.
Excellent.
Their top 5 list. So it's
Oh,
been
that
a
sounds
fun
like
month so far. But go check it out. The Nerd Cave Retro and the Openmicers Podcast.
Definitely check those out. Openmicers is a ton of fun. I always have a great time whenever I come onto that one. You guys are great. So yeah, come back next week when I talk about next. I'm going to say next as many times as possible at the end of this episode. So just don't take a shot every time I do, or alcohol poisoning. I am not held responsible for your alcohol poisoning.
Next is up next.
Next is up next, and until next time, just remember to enjoy your movies. And it's a weird world, but let's be excellent to each other. All right? It's been great you haven't seen.
Real nice piece of fucking work.
I forgot that I had captured that, and yeah, that's good.
I thought you were going to play Shithole.